Hello and welcome to GreenFleet Talks. My name is Kate Armitage and I'm your host for our discussion today. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt Pretorius, who is Head of Fleet Solutions at Octopus Electroverse. Hi Matt.
Hi Kate.
Great to see you. Nice to meet you. Now let's. It's the first time we've spoken, and actually, I think it might be the first time that we've had Octopus on GreenFleet Talks. So a momentous day. Very pleased to see you. For my benefit and for the benefit of the audience, Matt, we've got Octopus Energy and we've got Octopus Electric Vehicles. Where does Electroverse sit in that?
Octopus Energy are the household energy account we all know. So Octopus Electroverse are the public charging division within the company. So we're helping customers access their public charging for cheaper. And then you also have Octopus Electric Vehicles. So they are the leasing company as part of our business. So they supply salary sacrifice cars to customers. So the three parts of the business operate together.
Great. And there's a great synergy between those three businesses. Only this week, I was reading that Octopus is now the energy provider for InstaVolt, the public charging network. Absolutely.
Yes. So we are helping charging point operators, or CPOs as we know them, get cheaper, greener energy. And that's exactly what we're doing this week with InstaVolt.
Great. And this greener, we can't understate the importance of this greener. You know, if you're driving an electric vehicle, you really need to be thinking about putting renewable energy into it if you're serious about decarbonising transport.
Absolutely. And just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the last coal power station shut down. So
we did.
That's what we're doing. Yes,
we did. I love to see a graph that shows the tumbling emissions from the energy network. It really does. As someone who's worked in the energy industry for over 15 years, it really does cheer me to see. Right, Matt, on to the business in hand for today. I'm going to start with a topic that we've covered quite a lot recently because it's something that is significant within the industry. But now we have our new Labour government. They have mooted or indicated very clearly that they're going to bring the ICE deadline forward again to 2030 for cars, which is great news. But what impact, if any, has this had on the public charging across the UK?
I mean, so we saw the 2030 ban, then it moved out to 2035, and now it's talked about, potentially coming back. I think, we haven't seen absolute confirmation of that. But what it's done is, the charging point operators, the grants and the investment that's come from all this is still there. We've seen, but just only last month, we have hit a milestone of over 70,000 charging points across the UK. So, the ramp up is still there. If you look at our own business for a second, this time last year, we had mapped something like 500,000 charging points across UK and Europe. Now, to date, 1 year later, we have 860,000 charging points mapped. So it's an over 70% growth in 12 months.
Yeah.
The ramp up is absolutely still there.
Yeah. I think you're right. Clearly there is a correlation between the vehicles on the road and the charging infrastructure, but really important that we don't lose that momentum, particularly on the public charging. Now, Matt, your job title is Head of Fleet Solutions. We've talked about the cars and the ICE ban. At the moment, we've got a bit less clarity on vans, and I think they're having a bit of a tough time in the market. What would you like to see happening to develop the van market?
This is a two-part, and it's always going to be a two-part. So what I'd like to see is more development and more information coming from the manufacturers to bring out these vehicles. So we saw the ramp up of passenger cars over the last few years. It went from being, just one or two vehicles to a whole host of vehicles now. I think that now needs to copy across onto the commercial vehicles. In addition to that, we also need to see more charging infrastructure, but not just charging infrastructure in public charging. We need to see more workplace charging, more depot charging, but also in businesses parks, look at depot sharing, where you have vehicles, downtime at night, vehicles downtime during the day, and they really need to start sharing about this. I think that will come on. But if we reflect back to the manufacturers, I think the biggest concern and the hesitation is not having the right vehicle with the right payload, taken to the right area with the correct range. I think that there's a lot of uncertainty on that, but that's where the manufacturers have to come and play their part.
Yeah, and it is happening, Matt. You know, we are going to see a lot more vans coming to market, and hopefully we can sort of work through this TCO challenge that we still have with vans in the same way that we have with the cars. Very interesting what you were saying about depot sharing, much talked about. I think more complicated than first meets the eye. You know, it's taken a long time to come to the fore, and of course we know, and at GreenFleet we know, largely through the EV rally, that a lot of the public charging infrastructure has been developed with cars in mind and actually isn't fit for purpose for vans. So, you know, we really just need to be a little bit laser focused on making sure that the vans can work on the public network in the same way that cars do.
Yep, totally agree. We are starting to see snippets of that. Just as an example, 15 minutes away from where I live, there's a 44 bay charging infrastructure going through, but they're looking at longer wheel-based vehicles as well as cars. So I think that is coming, but also we're starting to see business parks and industrial parks being developed with a charging hub as a central point of that. So it is coming, but I do agree that maybe it's been slightly slower than we'd all really wanted.
Yeah. Well, waiting for the van market to emerge, I guess. So a lot of our audience, Matt, will be familiar with the Electroverse card, which you can tell us a little bit about. But you've now also rolled that out to businesses?
Absolutely, yes. So Octopus Electroverse was founded a couple of years ago and has grown from strength to strength. So it's all about mapping as many charging points across the world, so that one card or mobile app, you can arrive at a charger, you can tap the card to start the charge, or you can start on your mobile app, and Bob to your uncle, you can start charging straight away without having to fill through, you know, hundreds and hundreds of apps that's come around. And I'm talking worldwide, I'm not talking UK for a second. So that has come about. But then if you move into the fleet space, just like there always used to be a fuel card for fleet built to a central account, we've decided to do that exactly the same for our fleets to help them through the transition to EVs. So they can add all their EV drivers directly onto our platform. They can allow them access to an app where they can go and find chargers and start a charge, end a charge, as well as the card to do the exact same. That is all built to a central account and then taken once a month. But more importantly, for the fleet manager and the finance manager, they can see all this data in one platform, and that's the most important thing. They need to see the data behind all this. It is important, you know, because this is especially for fleets that are operating a blended fleet of ICE and electric. You know, it's another complication, isn't it? And the more we can take that pain away, the better. Probably worth also saying, Matt, because you were talking about the Electroverse card being worldwide, and people do take their cars on holiday, so there will be occasions when you need to use that card potentially on mainland Europe. But also Octopus Energy, it is expanding into Europe, isn't it? You've got operations in quite a few European markets now. Absolutely. So we're starting with the big markets across Europe, but then we also have presence in some APAC countries, and now recently we've taken some steps into the States. So little bit by little bit, we are bringing that green energy across the world. Yeah.
Literally across the world. In a previous life, Matt, I worked for a company that did optimization software for fleets, and you're involved, I think, in that optimizing the fleet charging element. Can you just tell me a little bit about what you're doing and the benefits that businesses can get from this?
Absolutely. So one thing I should say that, you know, optimization is key for all the fleets, but it progresses very, very quickly, and we are doing stuff to to change that and to make it better. But where we are right now, so within an app, both the consumer and the business can plan their route directly into the app, so that they can select their start and their end journey. What the app will do is look at the optimum point where they should be charging to get the best efficiency out of the vehicle and the best efficiency out of the route. It'll also look at the cheapest point where they can charge as well. So particularly, we should say that we have some CPOs that are more expensive than others, and obviously driving down the cost to the driver by finding the lowest cost is also key in this. So that's something that we already have available to our drivers.
And Matt, it's so important. I've already mentioned that TCO, particularly on vans, is a challenge. So you really have to keep a keen eye on how much you're spending on the electricity that's going into these vehicles if you want to achieve that TCO. So,
yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
Thinking more broadly about the public charging network, what other challenges do businesses face, and how can the Octopus Electroverse solution help?
So, Octopus Electroverse today is a public charging organization, but we are part of the energy group, as I say. I think the biggest bugbear most customers and both consumer and fleet drivers experience is the cost of public charging. We know it can be up to 10 times more expensive than charging at home. So what we look to do is help customers with home charging first and foremost to get the best cost out of that. If people can't charge at home, then look where else they can charge. Look at their tariffs at the workplace depot. We touched on that briefly for a second as well. So getting the best utilization out of the workplace charging. But then we all know people are not confined to their office or to a depot or to home anymore. We all work in a hybrid world. So public charging comes into play. So what we do is give access to our drivers to find the best possible price for charging. The great thing I should say is that we have the discounts built directly into our charging app and to the card as well. So we have overnight tariffs for some customers. We have discounts for around Source London, around the London area. So there's all different things we build in directly in that will help the drivers experience.
Great. We're starting to see more of that time of use pricing on the public charging network, which can only be a positive thing because it's a much more accurate reflection of actually what Octopus Energy is paying for their electricity in the first place. So more, and of course it will have the advantage of driving demand to the off-peak periods, which is also great. Matt, we've covered an awful lot. I'm going to throw the floor open to you and say, this is your chance to shine. And have you got a kind of success story or case study that springs to mind that illustrates some of the things we've been discussing?
Absolutely. So we are looking at a number of ways to improve all the time. But what we have seen of the fleets that have joined us, we look at the customers both in London and further afield. So for instance, we have a large fleet that operate at night in London to clean bus stops and various other stuff for transport for London. And what you have is charging points that have overnight tariffs, and making them aware where they can access that has driven down the price for that. So just as in the last few months, there's discounts in the region of 5 to 10% saving than they used to pay. But also then wider outside of the greater London area, if they charge between 7 and 11 o'clock in the evening, we know there's something like 20% savings. So this is all savings that are going to this company. Yeah. Versus the previous cost they used to pay. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it really is as simple as that. If there's any way that you can push your charging to off-peak times, you can benefit from cheaper electricity, which is great. And in that particular example, Matt, long time ago, we identified that electric vehicles were absolutely perfect for businesses that operate overnight in towns and cities because they're quiet. It's something, it's something that the Noise Abatement Society were really active on a few years ago, and we're starting to see it happening now, which is great.
Yep. One thing I should just add on the back of that, if you don't mind,
No.
What we do, which is the USP of us, I'm not sure if you come across plunge pricing before. So
No, carry on. Go on.
Sorry, okay. So what we found is we recently introduced plunge pricing. So plunge pricing is all about when there's too much energy in the grid, and we know the grid is important to all of us. It was not designed for the scope that we are trying to aim for. But what we allow is when there's too much energy in the grid, we know we have to balance that. And what we do as Electroverse is notify all our EV drivers that, on a certain period, so 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So typically 24 hours before, we notify customers that there's too much energy, and they can come charge with us for 20, 30, 40% saving. So that's another way we're trying to help customers drive down the cost.
And that's on the public charging network?
That's on the public charging network, available to
brilliant.
businesses and consumers, yes.
Brilliant. That's great. I mean, I do it at home, Matt. That 1 to 2 p.m. slot, when I get that email, is quite precious for my tumble dryer and ironing, and of course getting the EV on the driveway as well. But it's great to see that fleets can start to benefit from it as well. So more plunge pricing, please.
Absolutely.
Well, Matt, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cool. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And of course, thank you to Octopus Electroverse for joining GreenFleet Talks. That is about all we've got time for. Thank you for watching, and please tune in to GF365 again soon.